Hello and welcome to the Open Resourcery. Today there is myself, Devi, and my favorite co-host, Twisted.
Yerp.
And today we are going to be talking about the metaphysics of water. So like uses in spiritualism, any kind of like meaning of it, because water is not just water. So I know I'm gonna start with one of my ways to describe it. It's like a blank thumb drive. Water is programmable. It is one of the easiest. I know you're laughing, but it's the truth. It is the
Yes,
easiest
yes.
thing to actually put intention into anything. Now, this may just be because I am a water sign. I don't know. But for me, it is one of the easiest ways to actually get intention or magic into something that is in the physical, in the mundane. How about yourself? How do you view water?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head if you want to put it very simply. And, I want to guess in expanding upon what is you said about water is something that can be programmed, something that can be interacted with. It, retains energy. It can be utilized to transfer it as well. I want to expand it to the fact that we of ourselves, our human body, like rounding it up, I don't know the exact percentage. I am not a biologist, but somewhere around 70% or so of our body is water. That might just be lowballing it, but in that sort of sense, because water in of itself is so adaptable, it's so fluid, it's so easy to be manipulated, as a liquid and all the other properties of it, then we of ourselves are the same. And not only that, but if you want to look at the planet as a whole, what is it? 4/5 of the planet is about water or such. Once
I
again, these are
believe
very
so.
rough estimates. Yes, these are very rough estimates. I don't know the actual numbers. I ain't got the answer, Sway. So, I can't say with exact certainty, but around that. So, in that sort of sense, when we think about, say whether it's a glass of water or it is us as individuals or a group of people, community, or the world as a whole, it can in fact be impacted by these intangible sorts of things through the medium of water itself.
Mm-hmm.
And just to go ahead and cover, water, right? So I think that, with regards to Devi and I, and like plenty of other people who know the 101s of spiritual, magical sort of stuff. I think we all understand that the water element is attributed to the feminine polarity. The sort of like a negative, not necessarily in a bad way, but more so of hey, look, if the masculine is like a proton in the atom, then the feminine would be an electron in the atom. That it is taking to that feminine principle of adaptability once again, the fluid like nature, temperamental, the ability to change and shift, whereas the masculine's more so of the ever constant or the orderly, you could say. Once again, not trying to polarize order or chaos as good or bad, but just that they are part of a polarity that works interchangeably and in harmony, and one defines the other.
I don't disagree.
So with that,
It sounds
yeah,
bad. It sounds bad because it's like femininity is negative, but it's not. It's so not
oh
that.
yeah,
It doesn't mean that at all.
yeah, oh yeah, of course. And in regards to the water itself, right? So we have the material waters, you know, say once again from a glass of water that you're drinking, or the bath, or a lake, or a river, a stream. We got that, but we also have, this is the metaphysics of water we're talking about. So before any of that material expression came out, we had the primordial waters,
Mm-hmm.
and across many different mythos and different sorts of interpretations from the west to the east, many different stories of the waters that existed before, the aether and all of that, the formless before the formed came to be. And I will go ahead and say that, being that Debbie and I at least are from the United States, from America and all that, and I would be safe to say plenty of people who are listening to this are from, the U.S. or any Western sort of countries that we're familiar with, the Judeo-Christian understanding of first, the story that, hey, look, God brought the world into creation and, formed the heavens and the earth and all of that. And in that cosmology, that Jewish, old cosmology, we have, you know, considering like a dome around, the world, right?
Hmm.
Trying to think what is the term that was utilized in the book that we've been reading recently, Language of Creation? Oh, a
Oh,
dendrocentric sort
yes.
of framework, and looking at it from like the tree is the center of the
Hmm.
world in of itself, a quote unquote Garden of Eden. Um, and that there's the waters below, which is the actual physical water that we can see and inhabit in a material sort of manner. But then there's the waters above, right? So in that sort of like in Jewish cosmology, the world exists with a dome above it of water and all that. To be taken in a metaphysical sense, that that is the intangible, that is the ever flowing, that is the formless before there was the formed, and all of that potential of it, you know the energy that is free flowing throughout it without it coming to such a solitary form down below.
Hmm.
And also, you know if you want to talk about entities that personify that in the Judeo-Christian understanding, there is Leviathan. Leviathan, uh, is pretty much the sea serpent that existed before creation. And then, from the Jewish understanding, um, Yahweh went ahead and took Leviathan and crafted the world from Leviathan, as the primordial waters in the personification of that. I'm probably not saying it the most accurately or eloquently, but that is the general point from my understanding.
Hmm.
Um, I will go ahead and pass it over to you now, Debbie, actually, to go ahead and share some more thoughts about either that or just the metaphysics of water
Oh,
itself.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, in terms of water, even like in our own body, we have tears, right? Now, this has
Yeah.
been like scientifically proven, like underneath a microscope, tears of different emotions actually produce different crystals, different
Ah,
crystalline
yes.
structures. So that's one of the more physical ways that we can be like, yes, it does change. Some of the things that you are feeling do change. Now, be it up to the hormones within the body that does it, or of the fluid nature of the emotional state, you know, that is up to interpretation. Now, with water, water symbolizes so many things inside of spirituality. Water is, of course, first and foremost, life. You cannot live without water. Nothing can live
Oh,
without
yes.
water on this planet, not even succulents. Like maybe plastic succulents, but not like actual living ones. Um, then, of course, the next one is emotion. If you're delving into the waters of somebody, you're delving into their emotional state. Um, Sometimes it's a creek, sometimes it's a dry creek bed, sometimes it's as deep as the Mariana Trench. Like, it's funny because it's true.
Yes.
Um, and you're going into literally an unknown territory, but you're diving into some of the scariest parts of people. Then, of
The
course,
subconscious in of itself,
yes, the subconscious in and of
psychologically
itself.
speaking, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that is what the moon is all about, right? The moon is controlling the waters. The moon is that subconscious.
Yes.
Um, then we have changeability, like you were saying earlier. Water literally has four different states that it gets to be in. We have, Of course, normal, fluid, liquid water. We have ice. We have vapor. And then, of course, we have plasma. We love science for bringing out plasma. Like,
Oh
damn.
yes.
Um, but I think one of the most important aspects of water in the spiritual is purification. It comes down to cleansing at the end of the day, because for majority of rituals, that's what it's used for. Even in the Judeo-Christian, like we have Christianity, we have baptism, right? In
Yes.
Islam, before they go to do their prayers, they have, I'm going to butcher this, wudhu, I think is what it is. And then
I would not know. So we'll just run with yours.
well,
We'll run with your pronunciation.
I am not Islamic. I do not speak Farsi. I do not speak anything over there. I love the language and I love to hear it, but I am an ignorant little white girl. Um but then we also have in the Hindu beliefs, and you were picking on me for this earlier because I mispronounced it horribly. Um
Yes.
the the purification of the self in the Ganges River. Um so water plays a huge role in everything, especially in purification, because it's taking away the dirt. We do this on a physical level in terms of like washing our hands and getting ourselves clean in a shower or a bath, and making sure that we don't have dirt or grime or nastiness on us, and then we enjoy that clean feeling. But also, you can use that in a metaphysical sense, because you can get yourself spiritually squeaky clean. And we
Oh
love
yes.
that feeling. That's so nice. It's so nice.
And before we get too far, I just want to go ahead and backtrack a little bit to what you're talking about with the different scientific experiments and observing how water crystals change.
Hmm.
For those, even though it's quite a bit like popular now and being referenced, for those who may not necessarily be aware, if anyone wants to go ahead and learn about a particular sort of experiment that happened where this was observed, I definitely go ahead and recommend Masaru Emoto, whether it's videos on YouTube or actual books that have been written by him, talking about the experiment he did, where it was observed that there were two jars of water, and both of them just, I believe they came from the same source, and they both were in their jars, and on the actual um, piece of tape that they put on it. You know, one had the word love and the other one had the word hate on it.
Oh, I
And
remember this
even
one.
just, oh yes, and even as something as similar as, I mean, as simple as that, going ahead and taping on there and letting time pass, they're able to notice significant changes in the water crystals from that, and that just being an example of vibrations, different sounds, different things, like even like in the writing process or words of himself. Word is vibration, sound manifest, right? So even something as simple as that had an effect on how the water reacted to it and evolved, whatever time span was. And
Absolutely.
thus, yes, and thus again, we can go ahead and apply that to ourselves with the words that we say, the thoughts that we have, you know, what we consume, not just with water itself, but other sorts of, foods and drinks, and what we digest into ourselves are going to affect those water crystals within us, and thus we are programming ourselves. So, in listening to this conversation right now, you're in fact programming yourself. You're programming the water that's inside you. Plus, you're also DNA strands, but we're not necessarily talking about genetics at the moment. We're talking about water in of itself.
Hmm.
But yeah, like all in all, you are continually programming yourself, and even before you had the free will and or ability to choose what content you're listening to, whichever means you're listening to this, before you we're able to go ahead and, you know, just go out there and decide, hey, look, I want to seek knowledge for myself, or I want to learn about different things, when it was being more so spoon fed to you by way of parents or by a school system or by, society as a whole and the whole unspoken or spoken, mandates or rules or guides to life that are, programmed into you, that you are indoctrinated into into you for better or for worse. All in all, it is interacting with that water inside of you, that fluid element, and making it sway a certain way, you could say.
Absolutely. I would say, this is one of the reasons why mantras do end up working so well. Um, you know, having that daily mantra and verbalizing it. I do believe verbalizing it is the key. You can think it as much as you want, but once you verbalize it, you actually give it power. And are kind of giving that command to the water inside, if anything. Um, but absolutely. And I do remember another experiment that was done. It was done with rice, though. Um, like they had created or made rice, like prepared it normally and had it in two separate jars. And the one that was getting all the love, like nothing happened to the rice. The rice stayed literally looking like it was edible. And I believe they had like children speaking to it. But the rice that was being abused with words literally started turning to mush. And, ooh, just seeing what the negativity does uh, to that structure on a physical level, because you could actually physically see what happens with the rice, right?
Oh yes,
Like that is, it's almost crushing because of, how people talk to each other. But that is a topic for a different day.
oh
Um,
yes. But before we do that, even though this is about the metaphysics of water, even though I think it's commonplace nowadays with smartphones and all, just one little tip: if you go ahead and you get your phone a little bit too wet from too much water, go ahead and stick it in a bowl of rice. It should be able to suck that out because rice is highly absorbent.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
Rice or silica. Silica does the same thing.
And you know what? In terms of different sorts of like practices that one could do, um, I will go ahead and ask. So, Devi, I'm familiar with the moon water ritual and rite of leaving out water out on the windowsill, and I will ask if you could go ahead and like expand upon that a bit more so,
Okay.
and also other sorts of things that one could do with water in terms of a practical or a practical sense or technique, something
Oh,
like that.
absolutely. Absolutely. So moon water is actually like I literally just set my water out. So I just did this. Um Today is, full moon in Libra, which is
At the time
fantastic
of recording, yes,
at the time of recording.
yep,
And what I do myself is, I go out there. I do have a specific bowl that I place my water in, and I'm actually sending up like a prayer to the moon and asking for her blessings and asking for um not only that, but her to like charge the crystals that I have and sending my gratitude and my thanks and my appreciation. I do get feedback during this in terms of kind of psychic pings, but that is because I am an intuitive. Um, you'll you'll feel it, you'll know. But that is a very important ingredient in terms of doing any kind of like basic witchcraft. That is one of those where you're looking to go more into the subconscious mind. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to be like specific zodiac. I'm going into balance, I'm going into communication, but it helps to have, those correspondences if you so choose. But, ooh, pardon me. Having that and being able to use that maybe as like a self anointing before you go into a meditation, maybe to float a candle in that you are working on in terms of spell work or meditation or anything like that. It's a very useful tool. And a lot of times I will also place like crystals that are okay to be in water in the bottom of the bowl that has a correspondence with like whatever the moon is in that particular night as well. But that is more of a me thing, not necessary. It's just I'm a little spicy. I like my little extra. But that's what I do. Another simple one is literally blessing the water that you drink. So sitting there and thinking about what you would like this water to do for you in terms of maybe blessing your health, and you're thinking about it. And during my divination videos, I've talked about that singular focus, and that singular focus is very, very important, I believe, for all of ritual divination, witchcraft, any kind of it. You need to have a really, really good solid focus. And once you've grasped, okay, this is what I would like it to do, of course, you would sit there like with either a spoon, maybe your finger, if you're okay putting your finger in your water. I'm not sitting here saying like put like dirty things in your water.
Some people could be a little OCD, you know. So.
You know, if people are OCD about it, that's fine. I understand, because I have children. And quite frankly, there are times where I'm like, I don't even know what's on my hands. I don't want to put that in anything that I'm going to consume. I got it. But, you know, get a spoon, get a butter knife, anything like that. Use that kind of as a, like in Wicca, you'd call it like an athame, but like ritual, almost like a wand at that point, because you're getting your point across. You're using it as a tool in that moment. And you know, I would always say start with going counterclockwise as a cleansing of the water, so that any intention that was put on it previously is removed. Counterclockwise to remove things and purify. And then once you're ready to place in the blessing to the water, start going clockwise. And in that, imagine that, you know, your intention is literally flowing through the spoon into the water, and it is filling the water. Think of it almost like as mixing Kool-Aid into water. You know that that disbursement that happens, and then all of a sudden it's a different color. If you can hold that image in your mind of that blessing literally dispersing through the water, imagine it whatever color you want. Does not matter. As long as you feel good about it, go for it. And then, of course, be grateful for the blessings that is about to be bestowed upon you. Be grateful for the work that the water is about to do within your body. And then, of course, drink. Very simple. Super simple, easy blessing. We can be doing like, I don't know, eight times a day, because 8 glasses of water a day. Or, you know, if you're a big jug drinker like me, like 1 big blessing a day that you just sip on. Like that works too. And then one of my favorites is, of course, oh goodness.
Good job. Good job.
I know that was terrible. I apologize. I can't speak presently. One of my favorites is, of course, the purification bath or shower. Now, this is where you can get creative. You can add as much as you want. And I am going to equate it to, if you're going to be taking like a ritual bath, treat it almost like a tea, but it's a tea that you get to steep yourself in. And it's wonderful. So whatever intention that you're putting forward, you know, if you want to add herbs to it, make sure that they are okay for your skin. Of course, do not add rue, as much as rue has some very pronounced place in Magick, that is very much a skin irritant. You do not want a rash. You do not want anything like that. Make sure anything that you are going to put in your bath is safe for your skin. Um, so, salt is always a good purifier as well. So it's kind of combining the literal salt of the earth and the purification of water to make almost like a holy water bath at that point. And then you add your oils, add your herbs to kind of boost your intention. Just remember, you don't have to go hog wild with it. The more simple is the more pointed. The more complicated you get with your herb mixture, it turns into a soup. And quite frankly, that's a lot of elements. You want to make it simple. And showers are much the same. That one is more of a visual aspect. It's almost like imagining the water hitting the top of your head and then like this film of muck just coming off of you and washing down the drain as that cleansing happens. Of course, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Be thankful for the water and what it is doing for you. Then, of course, I said the blessing the water that you drink. You also have tea, just like I said. Teas are just there to help kind of intensify any effects. That's like advanced version. You've got really simplistic where you don't need to add anything, and then maybe try adding something just to give it a little boost, and it's a lot of fun. Witchcraft is not strict or stringent. Experiment. We're spiritual scientists. Have fun with it.
Yes, I agree. Concur. Have fun. Go buck wild. Go crazy.
Well, not too crazy.
Yes,
Don't hurt
not too
anybody.
crazy. Yes, yes.
Within reason. Within reason.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right. Was there anything else that you would like to add about the metaphysics of water?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts that
Okay.
I have lingering, for me to tack on here at the end. And that you're talking about like purification with this particular rites. One thing that I likely should have said earlier and was intending to, but I did not, was in terms of purification, right? Say on a reality scale, or at least as mythology goes ahead and talks about it. So we talked about different creation myths, particularly the Judeo-Christian one of, Yahweh, God creating the heavens and the earth, the material realm from the primordial waters. But also then there's the infamous flood story,
Oh,
not just the
yes.
biblical one, but that being a common mythos that is literally shared across just about every single other tradition across the world, Eastern or Western. Um, and that sort of renewal that has occurred in relation to it. If you want to look at it once again from Judeo-Christian sort of sense, the world became full of such a debauchery, such degeneracy, such evil in the eyes of God that it had to be washed away and cleansed, and hence why Noah had to go ahead and create the ark to preserve, what was needed and what was seen as good in order to restart again upon this material earth that we have here. Also, along with that, recently, Debbie and I have been going ahead and messing around a little bit with the I Ching, and that in of itself, uh, I would say that based on how it actually works, in terms of the flow of it, right? Like it's actually like when you delve into how it operates and different interpretations, and the actual fact that you can have changing lines, as opposed to just a solitary sort of meaning. Like one result out of the 64 can flow into another, and that being like a specific pathway, adding for more variability. And I guess you could say, as opposed to like other forms of divination, which are like yes, no results, or like they have limited results, like dice or pendulums or runes or dominoes,
Mm-hmm.
with singular results. and heck, I would even say probably even a little bit more tarot with the fact that there's 78 cards, and even with the reversals, that's quite a few that you could draw from. I Ching's uh, probably the most flowing like water sort of divination, at least that I've come across, and from my understanding of it thus far. Um, and I guess the last thing I wanted to go ahead and address is that water is such an important thing, across all these different mythologies, across all these different belief systems that people have, you know, whether it's an organized religion or more so of a naturalized tradition, whether it be, paganism or animism or anything, shamanism or anything like that, that there are plenty of different, entities, plenty of different water deities, angels, demons, gods, goddesses, whatever to choose from. And I guess like when I was thinking of like water in of itself and like which ones came to mind that you could possibly choose to work with for the purpose of tapping into the element. There's Archangel Gabriel, Judeo-Christian and Islamic, all Abrahamic. You got Neptune, aka Poseidon from the Greco-Roman pantheon. You got Hapi, who is the Egyptian god of the Nile, I believe. Within Shinto, there's a lot of different sorts of kami, a lot of different sorts of deities that are water related, including but not limited to Suijin, Ryujin, Benzaiten, who is actually the goddess who governs all that flows. So that includes water, but also music, time, all that sort of thing. And there's plenty of deities in that pantheon that have shared responsibilities, and also Susanoo, who, granted, he is the god of storms in the underworld, but also governs over the sea. Now, not the only one that governs over the sea necessarily, but you know, obviously he's one of the bigger names in the Shinto pantheon. But aside from that, I think I pretty much exhausted all of the thoughts that I had pertaining to the subject at the moment. Anything on your end, Debbie?
I've just got a quote from a very famous man named Bruce Lee. And he said, "Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." And honestly, I absolutely love that quotation. Um,
Yes.
Personally, and because of the connotations with it. So I will leave you guys with that. Um, it has been wonderful to talk about the metaphysics of water because we use it all the time. So simple,
Oh,
so
yeah.
easy. Can be as advanced or simplistic as you like. But this is Devi, and of course,
Yep. Twisted right here. Yay, yay.
and this has been us on the Open Resourcery. We will see you guys next time.
Stay frosty, Neguses. Peace.